Hi, Walter Carter here with a very unusual and possibly one-of-a-kind Gibson from 1934, 1935. You can see it doesn't say Gibson, it says Martelle Deluxe, but it was made in Kalamazoo. It has all the signature construction features of a Gibson. Almost every element of this guitar deserves a little explanation. You can see it has no truss rod. That was typical of anything Gibson made that didn't have the Gibson brand on it. Gibson started making off-brand stuff in the early 30s as a way to fight the Depression. With their own budget line, Kalamazoo, they also made guitars for various other makers. The Recording Kings they made for the Montgomery Ward Company. They also made guitars under the Cromwell brand. Just about any Gibson dealer could order something. It wasn't a custom shop, it was almost a custom brand shop. Martelle, we believe, is Charlie Martelle, Kalamazoo partner in a music store. In Kalamazoo, of course, is where Gibsons were made. Charlie Martelle probably had this guitar made up just to promote his store. There's one other that's surfaced that says Martelle Deluxe on it, not nearly as fancy as this one. So 1934, that's a fancy fingerboard made of perloid, but not unheard of. We'd just come through the era of the jazz age with ever fancier banjos, and a lot of them had a perloid fingerboard. It's actually celluloid, originally envisioned as a substitute for ivory. By the 1900s, people learned how to give it texture and visual effect than just a plain white substance, or in this case, made to look like mother of pearl. Known today as mother of toilet seat, but it was a fancy item back then. And it was not unusual on a Gibson. Gibson's top banjo, the All-American, had a perloid fingerboard. A little bit of a throwback, banjo-style tuners, but Gibson used these in the late 20s on the L5 model. The most unusual aspect of this guitar is the body shape. It's the dreadnought. Dreadnought is the most familiar acoustic body shape now, but in those days it was something very new, and the flat-top guitar was not that well established yet at Gibson. Another of the unusual and identifying feature of this guitar is the body depth that is uniform or near uniform through the whole guitar. The models that followed would have more of a tapered body, but this was unique to Gibson's jumbo model. One other feature, maple back and sides. Unusual on a dreadnought from really any maker in any era. Mahogany and rosewood were the materials of choice. So you have a guitar with a dreadnought body, maple back and sides. What do you get? A totally unique sound. And we don't know anything about how this guitar was used. Charles Martelle appears in a Kalamazoo city directory around 1935, but there's not any information on him beyond that or whether he even played guitar. It showed up in Nashville in the 1980s at the flea market. A local collector picked it up. He said the guy who brought it in was a guy from Kalamazoo who had two oddball Gibson guitars, and this was one of them. Changed hands probably half a dozen times between then and now. It's been in several collections, and the current owner found it in an estate sale in Virginia. There's not much really to say about this guitar except that it sounds great. You'd never say anything with certainty about Gibson, so we can't say it's actually one of a kind. Maybe another maple-bodied dreadnought pre-war out there somewhere. But I think you can say with certainty that there's no other Gibson that sounds like this one. The dreadnought body, extra depth, maple back and sides, all that works together to give this guitar a sound that I'm going out on a limb, but I think it's one of a kind when it comes to Gibson.